Guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Alex Saenz. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing MAO and my steps on how I determine my MAO. So guys, make sure you stick till the end of the video. I will be discussing a key factor, and it's a number that you don't want to mess up on. So first, what is MAO? MAO stands for Max Available Offer, which basically means what is the most you can pay for a property in order to make money on the wholesale end. MAO is important because when you have a seller lead, you're going to want to know what your MAO is in order to know how far you can go up on the acquisition. Now, MAO does not specifically mean what you're going to offer. It just means the max that you can offer. I usually teach my guys to shoot a number between 20 to 30,000 under the MAO so they can create some spread. This is just so you know what's the most you can offer, because if numbers are tight, you're going to want to know how much you can come up in order to still make money. So step one, you need to determine your ARV. This is something that I previously discussed in my last video. Make sure you go watch that. It'll be linked in the description below. So determining your ARV is one of the most important factors because you want to start off on the right foot. It's basically the foundation of this formula. If you don't have a correct ARV, you're not going to be able to determine your MAO because the numbers are messed up from the jump. If I assume that the ARV for a property is 330,000, but in reality it's only 300,000, that's going to make a big difference on my MAO. It's pretty self-explanatory, so just make sure that you get your ARV correct. So for the second step, you want to take these things into consideration. Number one is the realtor costs or realtor fees that are associated on the end buyer side. Once it's all said and done, the end buyer is going to account for the realtor fees because that's something that he's going to have to pay out of his pocket, or that's going to deduct his profit. So all these numbers are so you know exactly what you can sell the property at in order for the end buyer to make his return. For realtor costs, we usually factor in 3% on the seller end and 3% on the buyer end, which is a total of 6%. Number two, you want to factor in closing costs and title fees. We usually factor in about 1% of ARV, and that's just going to come down to whatever fees are associated during the escrow process. So for number three, we have rehab costs. This is a cost that you really want to be exact on because it could make a big difference on the property. If you don't know your rehab costs for a specific area or a specific state, it could mess you up. In a future video, I'm going to be explaining on how I get my rehab costs and what those rehab costs are in my city and the cities that I work in. So make sure you stay tuned for that. So for rehab costs, you want to factor in three things. Is the property either a full gut job? Is it a lipstick rehab? Or is it a decent property that just needs a regular rehab? So for number four, we have the investor profit. You want to factor in what the end buyer is going to make on this project, and that really helps you close down your number of an MAO. The investor profit may vary on the specific property that you have and also the specific area that you are in. Some areas they want to make more, some areas they want to make less. If a property is mostly remodeled and they're just going to buy and hold it, obviously they're not looking for the biggest return. So there's a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to the investor profit. And on that topic, I will be making a future video based off that as well, on how to find cash buyers, what are they looking for, what you need to look for, and just how to determine what the best cash buyer is for you. So the last thing that you really need to account for, and not many people do, but you need to account for money cost and holding costs on the end buyer side. And it's not something that really plays the biggest difference, but if you are running all your other numbers correctly, then this number will help you know exactly what you can sell it for, and this will allow you to know at what price you need to market at. So these things that I just explained are part of a big formula that most investors use. So the formula is basically ARV minus the Realtor Commission, the closing costs and escrow fees, minus the rehab costs, the investor profit, and that'll give you your exact MAO. So we're going to run a quick example. I'm going to start off by getting the ARV and then run my numbers on a calculator to show you exactly how I run my numbers and where I base my information off. Alright guys, so here we have an example that we're going to be using. So first we're going to get our ARV for this property, and then we're going to determine the MAO based off that ARV. So real quick, we have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot property. We're going to go and look at the comps, see what's selling for in the area. So right here we have a 3.2, 1,250 square feet. Looks similar to ours. So 333, that's our first one right there. We have a 1,200 square foot property. Looks like a newer build. No landscaping. So that 225, it's 100 square feet smaller than ours. Right here we have a 3.2 1,000 square foot property that is fully remodeled, nice touches on a decent lot. So based off all these properties, I'm pretty confident in a 235 ARV. All right, guys, so straight off the bat, I found 3 comps that support my ARV. With that ARV, we're gonna go to the calculator and break down our costs in order to get our MAO. So first, what I wanna do is I wanna deduct the realtor cost and the closing cost. So as I mentioned before, the realtor cost is gonna come out at 3% each side for buyer and selling end. So that's 6% of ARV plus the 1% for escrow cost. So straight off the bat, I need to take away 7% of 230, which gets us 16,100. So what you wanna do is you wanna subtract 230,000 by 16,100. So that gets you around $214,000. Then you want to go ahead and subtract the rehab cost. So right here we have pictures of the property. This property needs a full remodel. I mean, if you look at all our comparables, they are fully remodeled with the grays and whites, brand new cabinets, open space. So straight off the bat, I know our property is not going to need a full gut job, but it will need about $20 a square foot, which is a regular rehab. So based off those pictures, I know for rehab costs, I'm gonna be around $25,000 to $30,000 as far as the remodel goes. And I'm basing that off a price per square footage, which I will be explaining in my future video. So as I mentioned before, we had $214,000 after the realtor commissions and the closing costs. So 214 minus the 30,000 puts us at 184,000. Then you wanna go ahead and deduct the investor profit, which is usually around 15%. But that depends on the area. For this specific property, an investor is willing to make $30,000 to $35,000 on their profit. So you want to go ahead and deduct those numbers. So right there, that puts us at around $150,000. So the $150,000 is the area that I know that I can sell the property for to an end buyer. So because of that, my max available offer, MAO, is going to be about $5,000 to $10,000 lower than that. So what I suggest is that you stick to that $10,000 to create that margin. And if, for example, the seller is asking for $160,000 and we need to kind of crunch our numbers and be more specific, then we have that room to jump up to $145,000 and maybe $150,000, depending on the area and if you already have some pre-qualified buyers. So guys, that was a quick example on how I run my MAO. I hope this video helped you guys a lot. It's something that has definitely helped us and helped bring down our cancellation rate because we know that we are able to sell these deals. Now, these costs may vary depending on the city and the market that you are in, including the rehab cost and the investor profit. This is something that works in my area, Phoenix, Arizona, and that I hope you guys can take some tips out of and apply it to your market. As I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna be making a future video explaining my rehab costs and how I break those numbers down depending on my markets. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. With that being said, I will see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. And then something that like most wholesalers don't really account for is holding cost or like money cost for the end buyer.
Makes sense.
And then I give an example and then disclaimer, I'll be like costs are different in different areas and states. Investor profit varies. Some people want to make 10%, some people want to make 20%. And then close out.
Foyer.
Let's go.